My dad said, "Since your brother has hits, he should get your house." When I refused, my mom smiled and said, "Then we'll just take it another way." The next day I got a call from the bank saying my parents tried to. I knew my parents played favorites, but I never thought they would go this far. It all started when I bought my first house. My dad said, "Since your brother has kids, he should get your house." When I refused, my mom smiled and said, "Then we'll just take it another way." The next day, I got a call from the bank saying my parents tried to. I knew my parents played favorites, but I never thought they would go this far. It all started when I bought my first house, nothing fancy, but it was mine. 3 bedrooms, a nice little backyard, and most importantly, a place where I could finally have some peace. I worked my ass off for years, saving every penny, sacrificing vacations, nights out, and even skipping meals at times to make it happen. My parents never helped me financially, never co-signed, never even offered a word of encouragement. When I told them I had closed on the house, their reaction was lukewarm at best. My dad grunted something about how houses are a lot of work, and my mom just asked if the guest room would be ready for when they visited. That was it. Fast forward 2 years, and I had settled in well. Life was good. I was finally at a point where I could enjoy the stability I had fought for. Then, my brother, who I'll call Jake, lost his job. Now, Jake has always been the favorite. Growing up, he was the golden boy. Anything he wanted, my parents gave him. When he flunked out of college, they paid for a different school. When he crashed his first car, they bought him another one. Meanwhile, I had to fight for everything. If I wanted something, I had to work for it. And I did. Jake married young and had 2 kids. His wife, Laura, was just like him, entitled and constantly expecting others to clean up their messes. They were living beyond their means in a house they could barely afford. When Jake lost his job, they started missing mortgage payments, and soon enough, their house was on the verge of foreclosure. That's when my parents came to me. We were having dinner at their house when my dad casually said, "Since Jake has kids and you don't, he should get your house. It makes sense." I almost choked on my food. "What?" My mom smiled, that sickly sweet smile she always used when she thought she could manipulate me. "You can always get another house, sweetheart. You're young, and you don't have a family to worry about. Think of the kids." I put my fork down. "You want me to just give them my house?" "Well," my dad shrugged, "not give. We could figure something out. But they need a stable place, and since you're alone, it would be the right thing to do." I looked at them in disbelief. "No," just like that. Their faces changed. My mom's smile dropped, and my dad's expression hardened. My mom took a sip of her wine, then calmly said, "Then we'll just take it another way." I felt a chill run down my spine. What the hell is that supposed to mean? She just kept smiling, but my dad waved his hand dismissively. "Forget it. Just think about it." I didn't sleep that night. I had a bad feeling in my gut, and the next day, my instincts were proven right. At around 10 a.m., I got a call from my bank. The woman on the other end sounded concerned. "Mr. My last name. We just wanted to confirm some details regarding your mortgage refinance application." I sat up straight. "My what?" She hesitated. "We received a request this morning to refinance your mortgage. The request was submitted under your name, but there are some inconsistencies in the documentation, so we wanted to verify." I cut her off. "I never submitted a request." Silence. Then, she cleared her throat. "I see. Well, someone did." I told her to put a hold on everything and immediately went to the bank in person. When I saw the paperwork, my hands started shaking. My parents had tried to forge my signature. They used old documents of mine, things I had left at their house years ago, to try and get the bank to transfer the mortgage into their names. If the bank hadn't flagged it as suspicious, they might have actually pulled it off. I was furious. I called my parents right there in the bank, and when my mom answered, I didn't even say hello. "You tried to steal my house." She didn't even deny it. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. Are you out of your mind? That's fraud. That's illegal." "Oh, relax," she said. "We were just trying to help. If you had agreed in the first place, this wouldn't have been necessary." I was shaking with rage. "I'm reporting this." That got a reaction. Her voice turned cold. "You wouldn't do that to your own family. Watch me." I hung up and immediately called a lawyer. This was far from over. I left the bank that day feeling like my whole world had flipped upside down. My own parents had tried to steal my house, and the way my mom had acted, like it was no big deal, like I was the unreasonable one, it made my blood boil. I wasn't going to let this slide. I met with my lawyer the next morning. He was an older guy. No nonsense. And when I showed him the documents from the bank, his eyebrows shot up. "This is serious," he said. "They could go to jail for this." Good. I gave him everything. The fake paperwork, the bank's records, even a statement from the loan officer who flagged the fraud. My lawyer assured me we had a solid case, but I still felt sick. This was my family. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to take legal action against my own parents, but they left me no choice. Later that night, my phone started blowing up. First, it was my mom. I ignored her. Then my dad, then my brother. I finally answered when my dad called for the third time. "What the hell are you doing?" he barked. "No hello, no pretense." "What am I doing?" "You tried to steal my house," he scoffed. "That's a strong word." "It's the right word." He exhaled sharply. "Listen, this doesn't have to go any further. You can draw up all this legal nonsense and we'll forget it ever happened." I laughed bitterly. "Forget it ever happened? You really think I'm just going to walk away from this?" "You're overreacting," he snapped. "We're your family. Family helps each other." I clenched my jaw. "Family doesn't commit fraud." He went quiet for a moment. Then his tone turned threatening. "If you take this to court, don't expect us to stand by you. You'll be cutting ties with this family forever." I had to take a deep breath to calm myself. Then I said, "I think you already did that when you tried to steal from me." And I hung up. The next attack, I thought that was the end of it, that they'd realize they'd messed up and back off, but I should have known better. The next morning, I woke up to find my house egged. Not just a few splatters, my entire front door, garage, and even my car were covered in yolk and shells. I knew exactly who had done it. I checked my security cameras, and sure enough, there they were. Jake and his wife. Smirking, laughing, with my mom standing right beside them watching. I stood there, shaking with rage. This wasn't just petty revenge, this was war. I called the police, filed a report, and saved the footage. The officers were sympathetic but told me there wasn't much they could do. "At most, it's vandalism," one of them said. "But with security footage, you could take them to small claims court." I told them I'd think about it. Then, not even 2 hours later, the power in my house went out. I checked the breakers. Nothing was tripped. Confused, I went outside and saw something that made my stomach drop. The lock on my electrical panel had been cut. The switch had been flipped off manually. I called the electric company, and they confirmed someone had tampered with it, and I knew exactly who had done it. My parents had escalated. They weren't just trying to pressure me into giving up the house anymore. They were trying to make my life hell, and I'd had enough. The lawyer's bombshell, I drove straight to my lawyer's office, fuming. I told him everything: the vandalism, the power, sabotage, the threats. He listened carefully, nodding, then leaned back in his chair. "Well," he said slowly, "I was going to wait to tell you this, but now seems like a good time." I narrowed my eyes. "Tell me what?" He slid a folder across the desk. "We pulled a background check on your parents. Standard procedure since we're pursuing legal action." I flipped open the folder, and my heart stopped. Inside was a record, a criminal record for fraud. "What? What is this?" My voice came out hoarse. "Your parents have done this before," my lawyer said grimly. "Your dad was arrested in the 90s for check fraud. And your mom? She was caught using someone else's identity to open credit cards." I stared at him, speechless. My whole life, I had seen my parents as strict, controlling, and unfair. But criminals? He continued, "It was years ago. They got off with fines and probation. But given what they just tried to pull with your mortgage, that's a pattern." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. This wasn't just about my house anymore. My parents were scammers, and they were trying to pull the biggest con of their lives on their own son. I clenched my fists. If they wanted a fight, they were about to get one. I hid in debt and a bigger plan. I sat in my lawyer's office, staring at the criminal records of my own parents. My mind was racing. This wasn't just about my house anymore. This was something deeper. I leaned forward. If they have this history, could they be in trouble again? Financially, I mean. My lawyer rubbed his chin. "That's a good question. If they're desperate enough to try to steal your house, it wouldn't hurt to dig a little deeper." I agreed, and we started looking into public records. My lawyer called in a favor from a financial investigator he knew, and within 2 days, we had answers. And those answers made my stomach drop. My parents were drowning in debt. They had taken out multiple loans over the years. Home equity lines, personal loans, and even credit cards in other people's names. They had been playing a long, slow con, shifting money around, using new loans to pay off old ones, but it had all finally caught up to them. And then, I saw the worst part. My name was on one of their debts. "What the hell is this?" I muttered, staring at the document. It was an old loan, one I had never taken out, but my signature was on it. A cold realization washed over me. My parents had been using my identity for years. The fake loan and the bigger betrayal. I called the bank that issued the loan and demanded answers. At first, they were hesitant to say anything. But once I mentioned fraud, they put me on hold. 15 later, a manager picked up. "Sir, we can confirm that the loan was taken out under your name. The application was processed at a local branch in person about 6 years ago." I nearly dropped the phone. 6 years ago? I didn't sign anything 6 years ago. I racked my brain. 6 years ago, I was still in my tiny apartment, working 3 jobs to save for my house. I barely had enough credit to get a car loan, let alone a personal loan. Can you send me the documents? I asked. An hour later, I had them in my inbox, and sure enough, there was my name, my social security number, my fake signature. And the co-signer? My mom. I felt physically sick. She had walked into a bank, pretending to be me and taken out money in my name. She had stolen from me before I even knew what I had. And now, that debt was coming due. My brother's involvement just when I thought it couldn't get worse. I got a text. It was from an unknown number. Hey, I think we need to talk. Meet me at the diner on 5th. It's about Mom and Dad. Please don't tell them. I frowned, feeling a deep sense of unease, but I went anyway. When I walked in, my brother Jake was sitting in a booth, looking exhausted. This was odd. He never reached out first. He never asked me for anything privately. It was always through my parents, like he was their puppet. I slid into the seat across from him. Talk. Jake sighed and rubbed his face. I didn't know they actually did it. I narrowed my eyes. Did what? He hesitated, then leaned in. They told me they were thinking about using your name for a loan a few years ago. I didn't think they'd actually go through with it. My stomach churned. So you knew? He swallowed hard. I didn't think it was real. I shook my head in disgust. And you were just fine with it? Jake clenched his jaw. I didn't take any money from you. I laughed bitterly. No. But you had no problem trying to take my house. He looked down at the table. I didn't have a choice. I scoffed. Everyone has a choice, Jake. Then he looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before: fear. They're in deeper than you think, he muttered. I folded my arms. Explain. Jake exhaled slowly. Mom and Dad owe money to some people. I frowned. What people? He hesitated. Loan sharks. The real reason they wanted my house. Everything clicked into place. They weren't just trying to take my house because they wanted to help Jake. They needed my house because they were running out of time. I gritted my teeth. How much do they owe? Jake hesitated. A lot. Over $100,000, at least. Maybe more. I don't know all the details, but I know they took out loans from people who don't like waiting to be paid back. I leaned back, heart pounding. My own parents had put themselves into so much debt that they were willing to steal from their own son to fix it. And now, if they didn't come up with the money, they were in real danger. Jake looked me dead in the eyes. They're running out of options. That's why they tried to forge a refinance. That's why they're pushing so hard. I sat there, gripping the edge of the table. I had a choice to make. I could go forward with legal action, expose them for the frauds they were, and watch them crash and burn. Or I could use this information against them. The next move, I pulled out my phone, scrolled to my call history, and tapped on the number for my lawyer. Jake's eyes widened. Wait, what are you doing? I gave him a dark smile. I'm about to turn this whole thing around. And this time, they wouldn't see it coming. The confrontation, a family meeting like no other. I sat in my car outside my parents' house, my mind racing. This was it. I had told my lawyer everything. The fraud, the fake loan, the vandalism, the loan sharks. And with his advice, I had set a trap. I was going to confront my parents, but not alone. As I stepped out of the car, I glanced at my phone. A text from my lawyer popped up. We're ready, just say the word. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. My mom answered, wearing her usual fake, sugary smile. Oh, sweetheart, have you finally come to your senses? I pushed past her into the living room where my dad and brother were already waiting. Jake looked uneasy, shifting in his seat. My dad, on the other hand, leaned back like he owned the place, arms crossed, staring at me like I was in annoyance. You have a lot of nerve showing up here, my dad said. I laughed bitterly. I have nerve? You tried to steal my house. You forged my name on a loan, and you've been lying to me my entire life. Mom's smile didn't even falter. You're being dramatic again, honey. We were just shut up. My voice was ice cold, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of real concern in her eyes. Dad scoffed. Watch your tone. We're still your parents. No. You're criminals. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and held it up, and I have proof. The fake refinance, the loan in my name, your history of fraud, it's all documented. I even found out about the money you owe. Dad's face twitched, but he stayed quiet. Mom gave a nervous chuckle. Honey, we needed that money. So you just stole it from me? I snapped. Jake cleared his throat. They didn't just take from you. Mom turned sharply. Jake, shut up. But it was too late. I looked at him. What do you mean? He swallowed hard. They took out loans in my kids' names too. I felt the blood drain from my face. Your kids? They're toddlers. Jake nodded stiffly. Social security numbers don't age. They opened accounts using their names years ago. There's already thousands of dollars of debt under their names. For a second, the whole room went still. Then I turned back to my parents. You stole from your own grandchildren? Mom's fake smile was gone. She looked at me with cold calculation. We did what we had to do. Dad finally spoke up, his voice flat. We'll pay it back. With what? I barked. You owe loan sharks over $100 grand. You have no assets left. Your house is barely worth anything after you remortgaged it to hell. You're drowning. Dad clenched his jaw, but he had no response. I took a slow breath. Do you even care? About me? About Jake? About his kids? Mom stood up straighter, lifting her chin. Of course, we do. But family takes care of each other. That's all we're asking. We gave you life. We raised you. We know. I cut in. You didn't raise us. You used us. You saw us as tools, as lifelines. You never loved us. You loved what we could do for you. Mom's face twisted into something ugly. You ungrateful little. I turned my phone around and pressed play. A recording. Her voice. Then we'll just take it another way. Her eyes went wide. My lawyer had told me to record everything. And I had. Dad lurched forward, his face red with rage. You little. I stepped back. Try it. Then I nodded toward the door, and it swung open. The reckoning 2 uniformed police officers stepped in, along with a man in a suit, an investigator from the bank's fraud department. Mom paled. Wait, no. We can talk about this. Dad was already trying to bolt, but the officers blocked him. Dad's full name? Mom's full name? You're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, and financial exploitation. Mom turned to me, eyes wide and desperate. You wouldn't do this to your own mother. I stared at her, feeling nothing. You did it to yourself. As the officers cuffed them, Mom shrieked and pleaded. Dad just went silent, jaw clenched. Neither of them looked at Jake. When they were finally out the door, the house was eerily quiet. Jake just sat there, his hands shaking. I sighed. You okay? He let out a bitter laugh. No, not really. Me neither. We sat in silence for a while. Then he muttered, So, what now? Aftermath. Picking up the pieces, the case moved quickly. With the bank's fraud department involved, plus the recorded evidence and years of financial crime stacked against them, my parents didn't stand a chance. They tried to fight it, of course. They blamed me. They blamed Jake. They even tried to blame the bank for misunderstanding their intentions. None of it worked. Mom and Dad both got prison time. Years. Jake was left to pick up the pieces. He had to fight to clear his kids' names from the fraudulent debt, but with the case against our parents, he managed. I got my name cleared too. And the house? It's still mine, but I haven't spoken to my parents since their sentencing. Jake and I are civil, but we'll never be close. There's too much history, too much damage. A family that never was. I always thought family was supposed to mean something that no matter what, your parents would have your back, but mine never did. They didn't see me as a son. They saw me as an investment. And when I refused to be used, they tried to destroy me. I don't regret turning them in. Not for a second. Because the truth is, they were never really my parents. Not in any way that mattered.